Firstly, I just want to say thank you to Auntie Dot for this opportunity. It wasn't easy because I looked back and I thought, where am I going to start? God has been so good to me. So I didn't even know where to begin. I just want to give a little background of myself. I come from a very traditional family, especially from my father's side. They are so traditional in such a way that they keep all the traditions, they do ancestral worships and everything. And I grew up in that environment. I didn't know anything about Christianity. And there was a time when, to me, it was, to my family, because when we see people that say they are Christians and they don't do that and that, and it didn't make any sense at all because we didn't know what was it about. So, but God can take you from any kind of situation and pull you out from such environment and put you in a place where you really know that it can only be God. Um, I finished studying in 2001. I did my national diploma in Durban. I come from KZN. So for about 2 years, I didn't have a job. Then I told my mother, said, no, I think maybe let me just go to Joburg. My mother was like, what are you going to do there? You don't know anyone. But then I said, let me just go and try and see if maybe something will come out. Then my mother spoke to another lady. I was not married then. My mother spoke to another lady that she knew from a rural place in KZN. She was staying in Vosloorus. So I went and I stayed with the lady. She was working at Albertine in Shoprite. So because I didn't have a job, this lady said, no, I'll see if I can find something for you. And she organized a job for me at Shoprite. And when I went there, I thought, because I gave my CV, obviously they know that I'm qualified, maybe I'll get something better. But when I got there, they showed me that I needed to pack. I was a packer. I was like, but God, really? Really now? But then, God works in our characters in so many different ways. God had to humble me. I was humbled. And it's not something that I expected, but it's something that I needed to do because I didn't have anything else. So I started from there. And I thought to myself, anyway, I'm in Joburg. No one knows me in this area, so it doesn't matter. Until one day, there's this guy that we used to go to school with. He had a good job. He was working at Eskom, and he had a car. He was well off. So he actually came to my till where I was packing. So I didn't have anywhere to hide. But then from that day on, I just thought to myself, you know what? I don't need to be here. God is speaking to me. Really, I don't need to be here. So I started being serious about myself. Every lunch break, I will go out and do applications, go to the internet every lunch break. Then something came out. I got another job in Bryanston. At least it was something better. Although the salary was not that much good, but it was something. And it was a start of my career. So then I worked there for a few years. Then another break came. I got a job at ABSA. I worked there for about 4 years. Then in the fourth year, because I was a senior in the position where I was working, and not senior in a, I was the most, I mean, I've been there for long. And I was doing the mostly the trainings of the people that were coming in. I was a consultant. So I felt that I was doing a lot of work, and I thought that I deserved better. That's what I thought. So my branch manager was a lady, and I don't know, she had her own issues, her own insecurities. So I didn't bother me that much until I went on maternity leave. And when I went on maternity leave at APSA, when we had performed well, they used to give profit share bonuses. So it was in December, and my colleagues called me and say, "Hey, did you get something? What did you get?" My manager decided not that I didn't deserve any bonus, so I didn't get a cent out of everybody in the branch. So I was devastated, I was hurt, I was angry, I was bitter, I was everything. And I decided to send an email to my area manager to tell him what has happened. And my area manager said, "Let's talk about it when you come back from leave." Then I didn't even want to go back to work the way I was hurt. And from there, I started seeking God. I prayed. I fasted. I didn't even know how to fast, but I learned from them. I prayed. I was seeking God in all ways possible. And I applied. No job came, nothing came, no response, nothing. It was all quiet. So time came that I needed to go back to work. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but somehow God gave me strength, He gave me peace. I think I was consoled by the fact that at least my area manager was willing to listen to me. So we had a meeting, and after that, I mean, it was what was done, so there was nothing that we could do. So then the lady saw that she was wrong. She tried to make it up, but then I thought, okay, there's nothing I can do. Let me just move on. So after that, I still believe even now that God again was working on my character. Because after that, I had even forgotten that there was an application that I sent somewhere else. After that incident, I got a call for another job. Then went for an interview. A few weeks later, they called me again, and they said they were happy with me. They gave me an appointment letter, but then I was also a little skeptical because I was like, this can't be true. I mean, it wasn't anything that I expected. It was, I had worked for ABSA for about 4 years. I was in a secured job, permanent, and these people said, you need to start within 48 hours. So I was not even given a chance to put a notice. So I was like, now what do I do? Because now I'm not sure what to do anymore. I know I've prayed for a job, but now I'm like, but I can't just leave. And, insecurity came in. But then I said, let me just pray about it. When I was praying, I didn't even know what to expect because I was just praying. But then I had this peace, so I knew that it's something that I must do. I phoned my HR. I told them that I'm resigning immediately. There was a lot of issues, but then they let me go. So by the grace of God, the salary that I got was double what was ABSA paying me. So all the benefits, everything, I mean, it was unbelievable. When I got to the new job now, another story. When apparently the application said they wanted someone with a driver's license, I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't see that in an application, but God worked miracles because they forced me to resign within 48 hours. There was nothing that they could do. They had appointed me already. So now my HR was in trouble because now it was like they didn't check everything. But you know, when God gives you something, He qualifies you for anything. It doesn't matter which position, it doesn't matter where you are. If He says this is your job, then it's your job. And from then, it was all issues. It's a municipality, so there was all the people now, you know, there were stories with the unions and everything, how I was appointed and what. But God was so good because it didn't even get to me. It was just my MD that was dealing with, apparently my MD was in Nkosi, so I was a Dlamini, then I wasn't married. So it was like my MD now appointed a sister or a cousin, whatever. So, but anyway, that was God. Where I'm getting at is I didn't even know, I wasn't saved by then, but God still, made a miracle even through that. So when I came to the Tower Church, it was after all those incidents. So when I came here, for me, it was like, I just want to give glory to God. He has done so much for me. And, I just want a church that will allow me to glorify God. So I came here, didn't know anyone, just came with my family. And when I first came, I knew that I wanted to give my life to God, but I didn't know what to expect. So God gave me a word. It was John 4, from verse 20. Okay, let me just read it to you. From verse 19, actually. It's a story about the woman, the Samaritan woman and Jesus. Sir, the woman said, you must be a prophet. So tell me, why is it that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place of worship, while we Samaritans claim it is here at Mount Gerizim where our ancestors worshipped? Jesus replied, believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans know very little about the one you worship, while we Jews know all about him, for salvation comes from the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed, it's here now, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him that way, for God is spirit, so those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. At first, I didn't understand what this word meant, but as I was going through it, confused and thinking, no, this cannot be. I come from a traditional family. Now, I mean, even worse, I'm coming to this church where it's like a white people's church. I was like, no, it can't be. It's like now I'm African most. My traditions, my everything, my culture, I was like, no. So when God gave me this word, I went home still confused. Then a friend of mine invited me to another church in Walkerville. So when I went to that church, the preacher, they preached on the very same scripture. And he actually analyzed it. And he actually said, God is looking for people that will worship him in spirit and in truth. And that's exactly what I was looking for. But I was confused as to, is it for me? With even now, there's this talk of tradition and culture, you're running away from your traditions and what. So that was my confusion. But I guess with this revelation, God answered my questions. And I felt then that I was in the right place. So since then, I started seeking God even more. And God has done miracles and wonders for me that I cannot even imagine. But it was not easy. I went through so many challenges. And because when I decided that this is the path that I wanted to take, there was a lot of opposition spiritually. My son especially, got so sick. It was like every month he was admitted to hospital. And with my family, it was like, no, this child, you need to introduce him to the ancestors and what that. But then, because I had told myself that I'm not taking that path anymore, I think God kept on strengthening me. And I was able to go through all the tests that were coming through. Even my mother, from then, got diagnosed with cancer, and I'm the eldest daughter at home. So they called me, the doctor said we had to make a decision that if we wanted her to have an operation, it was a breast cancer. So my sister works in a hospital, and she's got all the stats and what, and she was telling me that at her age, if she doesn't go for operation, this might spread and what. But God gave me a word again in Psalm 91 that said, 1,000 may die on your side. So I stood on that word, and I said, it is not going to happen to my mother. She is not going for an operation. I am trusting God for healing. And my mother is healed of cancer today. So not only that, I'm blessed even materially, because, I cannot even say. It's like, when you trust God so much, when you seek him with all your heart, he make everything possible. I've gone through a lot, and you know what? I always say to myself now, I thank the Lord for persecution, for the hurt, the pain, because that is where God gives you strength. That is where God takes you from one level to another. Now God has moved me from a level of the lowest level to a place where I can say, it can only be you, Father. And, it's just for me to say to anybody that is in doubt of God, to say, this morning, God is there, he's alive, and he can do all things. Just trust him. And just to add, maybe I think my time, just to add, even the things that you are seeking for, from where I started, today God has blessed me so much. I've got 2 properties, I've got 2 cars now. From where I started, it can only be God. And there is a process in everything, especially for our youth. Nothing comes just, easy. God makes you work through every process in life. Have to be patient.